Happiness for a lot of women is forever a fleeting moment. Something I've always found fascinating about dating advice is that you never see any advice for women on how to improve relationships. It's always the opposite. Today, more and more men are avoiding women because they don't want to get into a situation where everything they've worked for is taken away from them. Women are not finding men for them and getting lonelier with every passing year, realizing that it's too late for them to find the joy of partnership. The worst part is that they can't even admit this openly and have to face the consequences all alone for the rest of their lives. The reason why some men are unwilling to compromise today is that we had to work ourselves up to be exactly what women wanted because they were unwilling to compromise. While I agree from a rational standpoint that compromise is necessary and important, the double standard is frustrating and hard for some men to get past. It's incredibly difficult for people to talk about their mistakes. The ego always comes into play. People don't want to admit what they did was wrong, or that the decisions they made were made in hasty and with emotion, not with good reason. Similarly, you will hardly find any modern woman who completely admit how blindly following the feminist ideology led them to live their lives chasing a dream that wasn't really theirs, only to realize in the end that they missed out on some crucial aspects of living a happy life, such as family, partners, and children. Feminists will talk about equality all the time. But if you notice, that equality will only be limited to positions of power. Boardrooms, senior positions in the governments, leadership positions in the biggest organizations in the world, top roles in education, defense, media, NGOs, and places where women can command power over men. They won't talk about regular blue-collar jobs. They won't talk about jobs where men risk their lives. They won't talk about jobs that require a lot of physical hard work. They will only talk about these positions and how they can earn more than their male colleagues. They've created a competition, which only they are a part of, and involving themselves in that competition to play and win. This is because men aren't playing that game. Men have realized that enough is enough. All the talk about equality is meaningless if it's only selective equality that doesn't respect the hard-working men who have physically built the infrastructure of the world in some of the toughest conditions humanly possible. They've realized that it's not even worth being with women anymore, because all they bring to the table is unrealistic expectations and a sense of unwarranted entitlement, and seek to make sure men live their lives revolving around women catering to their needs. And it's because of this reason, all the women who played Game of Thrones for the last 20 years and are now incredibly successful and wealthy, live in beautiful homes, drive the classiest cars, and have the most social lifestyles that you can imagine. But the one thing these women don't have, and the one thing they will hardly ever admit to, is loneliness. You only have to listen to the clip at the beginning of this video to realize how widespread regret is for modern and older women. Yes, modern women who are successful and have built their careers in the last 2 decades are now lonely. They have their profiles on platforms such as Tinder, but all they attract are either thirsty young guys looking for cougars or old men who want a woman to simply live the rest of their days with. So, why aren't men getting married anymore, and what can women do about it? The legal consequences of marriage in today's environment are so drastic that it is prohibitive for many men to even consider marrying. The problem with it is that it has specifically got more to do with the Western world versus other places like Asia or maybe Eastern Europe or Russia, for example. So, the way family law has kind of progressed and evolved over time is that it's turned into a scenario where it's very high risk and low reward for men. Today, men have been influenced by women speaking through movies, books, and TV shows, where the only guys they seem to like are the nice guys who are not masculine at all, and basically are guys that every woman in the real world will friend zone. Guys need to understand the true nature of women, and need to understand that what women say versus what women really feel are completely different things, and it will always be like that, no matter the year and no matter the country. They need to work on themselves, develop interesting habits, build a strong physique, and become better at dating women. However, women also need to lower their expectations because they just seem to expect everything from a guy. I don't even know if what is currently happening here is intentional, but it is an exploitation of the male nature. A man naturally wants to protect women. He wants to be of service, he wants to be loyal, and he wants to do what's right. But Women condition guys to believe that what they're doing they absolutely have to do for women because that's their birthright. Every time he disobeys your orders or ceases to be your servant, you can simply accuse him of disregarding that particular aspect of what it means to be a man, and he will comply. Men are expected to do everything, while women only complain. They point out men's negative sides and tell them they need to do better. And if they end up in a divorce, he is the one who has to pay for everything and probably pay her a salary for the rest of his living days. Does that sound fair to men? I don't blame men for going their own way. Men are protecting themselves from the drama and a loss of their resources and sense of self-esteem and integrity. And the worst part is that society will continue to do this to men. It will continue to subjugate them. Going back a few years, you would come across men being in the background and basically trying to protect themselves from women, and the risk of being with women and the associated consequences such as divorce, or having their life savings taken away from them, or having their children taken away from them. These are men who had gone their own way, and they were afraid to come out and declare it because they knew society would just alienate them. Other men would laugh at them, and they would basically be in the crosshairs to be ridiculed for their self-preserving philosophy. And this is also true for the 10 or 20% of men that women usually want and go after. But things have changed over the years. Men are no longer shying away from telling the world that they've had enough, seen enough, and experienced enough to know that they just don't want to pursue women anymore. They're a whole lot better off without them. They're going their own way. They're going to live their life their own way, build their skills, pursue their long-standing habits, and live a normal life, just without being committed to women. And it's not like they hate women or anything. They just don't want to be in a relationship with women because they're just not okay with all the drama that comes after marriage, or how the system works against them if they get divorced. And now, women are looking at men coming out and saying they're going their own way. The number of men doing this is steadily on the rise. I think this is why more women are starting to think that maybe these men might be right. They're not bad men. They're good guys who just don't want bad experiences anymore. On the scale of attraction, these guys are 4s, 5s, and even 7s and 8s. Feminism has gone from a female liberation movement to a movement that just wants to bring down men, and men are not okay with that. So, they're just walking off the field and going their own way. And this is one of the prime reasons why men are increasingly single and choosing to live life on their own. They'd rather be lonely than be with women who are only going to exploit them or reject them just because they can. And these are women who grew up with an entitlement to being taken on dates, being given gifts, and having their meals and expenses paid for by men. With feminism and equality on the cards, men want women to bring their half to the table, to pay up, to be the partner that the feminist movement preaches about. Thanks for watching The Circle of Kings. As always, we're looking forward to your support. So please hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything all kings like yourself need to know.